So good evening, everyone. I'm Hannah. I'm the assistant director here at the Blue Hill Library. And I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us tonight in Zoom land for another library program. We're really excited tonight to be continuing our lecture series, the Robert K. and Linda B. Slaven Lecture Series, which was supported by a generous gift from the Anahata Foundation this year, is our new lecture series. And this is our second instance of it. So tonight we're very pleased to welcome Issac Bailey to share from his new book, Why Didn't We Riot? Issac's an award-winning journalist, and he also teaches at Davidson College. He's been published in lots of different periodicals and appeared on NPR, CNN, MSNBC. He's going to talk to us tonight about his new book. I also want to mention, if you'd like to buy his new book, you can always do so from our local bookstore, Blue Hill Books. They're shipping, even if you're not in our area. And of course, you can check it out from the library as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Issac and let us get started here.
Sure, and thank you for having me. And like I sort of actually struggled with what to actually talk about tonight, given like all of our let's just say like the sort of my current state of our craziness going on in this country. And so I'm trying to at least actually keep that in in like the background, yes, but also sort of like actually not like actually get too focused on that. Which is hard to do sometimes, frankly. And yet, so I am actually going to start where I ended my my last class today at Davidson. Yes, in that class, I actually teach about empathy, right? And that really hard process, in order to actually really get true empathy and not sympathy. Yes, and also sort of at least actually not excusing bad behavior or evil, etc. And that actually has been a very, very tricky thing for me this semester. And because I sort of actually have been sort of struggling against my own sense of burning anger. It has been exhausting, frankly. And I am actually going to get into some of the things in this book, and also sort of why it is that I'm even talking about rioting, et cetera, all those sort of things. What I have been trying to do, at least actually with my students, yes, in terms of that, I've been trying to teach them how to be clear-eyed, be angry when it is necessary to be angry. Yes, but also at least to actually not let that become bitterness. And that there is a reason for that. Yes, and so, it isn't really for the people that we are angry with. It is sort of actually this real struggle, actually, at least to actually hold on to the sort of best part of who we are. And so therefore that if we actually give into it too much, and if we become bitter or feel helpless, then like we actually lose who we are at our core. And for me, that is I mean, in terms of like that is at least like this price that I am not willing to pay. Like even with all of this mess going on, like either with the election or with race or with like any number of issues, like I am not willing to like actually give up who I am at my core just to be bitter about other people. And yet I sort of actually like also sort of actually at least like actually need to find a way in order to like actually make sure that I am still fighting for justice, that I am still fighting for equality. And like that is a kind of a tightrope. Like in fact, like one of the big things that sort of actually got me here, like, and also sort of actually writing this book in particular, like, is because I had gotten so angry about the state of the world, and like in particular, or yes, like I can say this, that here it is that I am, yes, like I'm actually born and sort of raised in South Carolina. And like, at least like in like the heart of the Bible Belt, like in the deep South. And for 18 years, like I sort of actually went, at least like actually to this like mostly white like evangelical church here in South Carolina. And like I did that like simply because like I thought that I had this call like on my life to actually be a bridge. I mean, at least to like actually be able to like actually be a role model in order to like actually step out of my comfort zone. In order to like actually try to like actually really deal with this divide. Yes, and so like over those 18 years, like I sort of actually raised my kids there. My sort of, yes, like, and also sort of like me and like my wife like were sort of like baptized there. Yes, like, and that like we actually prayed together and we ate together, like, and we loved on like each other's kids, like, and we supported each other. Yes, like, and we did like all of these things. Yes, like, and also that I sort of like, yes, like I even sort of actually led sort of like several workshops on sort of like race relations in order to actually really get us to like actually might have a real unity and not just something superficial. Yes, and again, like this happened over years, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, did all of that. And I thought that I was actually making progress until not Trump, until it was November of 2008, and our nation's first Black president was elected. And like almost overnight, like those sort of my fellow church members, like white church members, Christians like me, they actually changed. I mean, like in a real way. and at least like the stuff that they at least like actually started to say and believe, like actually got more crass and cruel and racist. And also that I was like also sort of like actually writing for like our like newspaper then like in our area, and then like at the same time, and I saw that same shift at least like among my sort of like mostly white readership. Like whereas like almost overnight, like something had snapped and changed, and suddenly, just in terms of that, like all of their like either hidden or dormant or like whatever you want to call it, like thoughts about race suddenly came out. Yes, and so like at first, like I tried to ignore it, simply because like I was thinking, well, like there was a like really intense election cycle. Yes, and this was therefore that like they were actually just upset about the election. Yes, and then that like soon like that kind of stuff would die down and go away. Well, it never died down. It never went away. Yes, and again, and then that like this was after like I had spent all of that time there in that church, in that community, sort of actually dealing with these issues, and it never went away. And then, at least actually during the summer of 2015, this sort of like young, sort of like white supremacist, Dylan Roof, sort of like he actually went like into a church here. Yes, like, and in fact that like that sort of like actually was like the sort of like church, at least like actually where like my sort of my wife and I like actually had diagonal, at least like actually that worshipped, at least like together for the first time. Yes, so like he actually went into that church, Bible study, like even after praying with those Black people, and sort of and sort of like actually saw how nice they were, etc. Still decided to gun them down in that church. 9 of them in that church, like in that place right there. And right after that, like there sort of actually was like this outpouring of support from like all kinds of like Christians around here, like white Christians, etc. Yes, in terms of that, like we had sort of all these sort of like prayer chains, and like these sort of that groups like which were like interracial, just to talk about unity, like, and also at least like the need in order to actually beat back hatred, etc. Like these sort of like flag, like even sort of actually came down, at least like actually from our State House grounds. Like all of that happened, etc. Oh yes, like we talked about how great it was. We even had sort of like some of the victims' family, like even like even sort of forgave Ruth, right? Yes, and then that like they actually got praised for that. It's like, oh my God, that is such a great Christian example, a Christian witness. All of this happened And then in June of 2015, Donald Trump sort of actually came down like from his golden escalator and kicked off his campaign. And then at least like actually that like yes, and then that he actually kicked it off like actually talking about Mexicans as rapists and criminals, etc. Yes, I mean just straight out hatred, very bluntly, very openly, etc. Yes, and then at least shortly after that, like he actually came here for a rally, and all like and sort of like all of those sort of like good white Christians, really like who sort of actually had been praying with us like after the roof shooting. Yes, they were praying for us and were saying how it is that we should like actually really beat back hate, and yet they instantly flocked to his rallies, instantly. And they started to praise him instantly. And like every single thing that he said, like that was indecent, that was ugly, that was racist, they sort of actually came up with a way to be okay with it. And this, again, was all in the shadow of that massacre at that Black church. And so like here, it was again, happening again for like all of those years that like I was like actually in my church, like actually with like these folks. Like as soon as Obama was elected, and then suddenly, like none of that stuff that we had talked about and prayed about and loved on each other about mattered anymore, instantly. And then like even after the roof shooting, Trump comes in with his open hatred, with his indecency. And even in the shadow of something as ugly as a massacre in a church, they still flocked to him. And so like what I cannot stress enough is like how much that hurt and how deeply that cut, how deeply it still cuts. And like this is why, just like, and because like if it was just a matter like of them being like just straight out racist like David Duke or Richard Spencer, et cetera, yes, I mean like that actually would not have been a big deal. Yes, I mean because like in that kind of case, yes, and then that like we actually would have expected them to do that. But in this case, like these were folks like who for year after year after year after year had declared in my house and also like in their homes, etc., that like they were about unity, that they were about God, that they were about equality, that they actually were about principle, etc. And yet, as soon as those things happened, all of that went away, almost overnight. And so, at least in a situation like that, and you are a Black person, like in a place like this, and in a place like this, by the way, like is sort of how, like where it is we have built monuments and statues, at least to like people, golly, and that, golly, yes, in fact, yes, and then that, like who actually sort of bragged about lynching Black people. Like these are the people that we have built monuments and statues to here in only like on sort of like public property. Yes, like, and in fact, like that Black church, Emmanuel AME in Charleston, South Carolina, is like actually sits on this road called, yes, in terms of that, like it is called like Calhoun Street, named after like one of the most pro-slavery officials like in our state's history. I mean, so again, like this is where we live. And these are the kind of things that we deal with every day. And yet, over and over and over again, that we actually try to find a way to be a bridge anyway. Like we actually try to find a way to forgive again and again and again, simply because our faith says so. Yes, and we do it all the time. And then, yes, and then like also that like we actually try to make our white residents here comfortable. And so like therefore, if somebody from Maine, for instance, at least like actually called them racist, like we actually would stand up and defend them. Like we would say, no, that they are fellow Christians. Time and time and time again, that like this is what we have done in places like this as Black people. As Black people, for our entire history, even after slavery. Like even after slavery, like we actually did not want revenge. Like all we wanted was equality, even after slavery. Like even after a century of lynchings, we actually did not call for revenge. All we wanted were civil rights. Time and time and time and time again. Like we have like actually reached out our hands and like actually bent over backwards and done everything in order to like actually show that. And yet, when push comes to shove, like as it did in 2009 and in 2015, it was the same response. It was the same response. And so like in that kind of environment, in this kind of environment, like it is exceedingly difficult in order to like actually not only be angry, but to not be bitter. It is exceedingly difficult. In part also because like we also have, like we also that hear from, at least from that folks like outside of this area, like over like the past year, like over like the past 4 years, like who sort of actually have been scolding us essentially in order to like actually reach out our hands even more to Trump supporters, in order to try to like understand them more. Yes, and so that sort of like actually how like was the genesis like of this book. Yes, like, and because like after a while, I mean, like you just get tired. Just get tired. And then you wonder, okay, what really are your options? Yes, like honestly, what are your options? Yes, like especially with the fact that yes, like, and also sort of if you show anger in any real way, yes, and then suddenly you are the angry Black person. Yes, and also sort of like if you sort of like actually like if you actually have your doubts about police, for instance, in an area like this. yes, like, and also that you actually see your brothers and fathers harassed, disrespected, and yes, like, and sort of actually, yes, like, and sort of actually filling up the jails and prisons. And on top of that, like, at least like actually when they try to like actually say that something is going wrong here, nobody listens. Nobody listens. Yes, like, and in fact, on top of that, again, like they actually scold you simply because you are not grateful enough as an American. I mean, yes, so like again, like all of these things are going on day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And it has always been our burden and our responsibility in order to reach across the aisle. In order to like actually leave our churches, in order to like actually go like into other churches, like just to actually be the role models. In order to forgive white racists who literally come into our churches and massacre us. And then on top of that, again, like it is our burden. Yes, like in order to like actually understand better why it is that like all of these folks rush to Donald Trump. Again and again and again. Yes, and then so the real question then becomes, honestly and seriously, well, what are our real options given all of that? What are they? What are they? Yes, and then like even after it takes sort of something like that, that sort of it's like that video of George Floyd of that 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It actually takes that like in order for people to actually understand like what has been going on for years and years and years. And yet, even on the other side of that, like if we do not sort of like actually protest correctly or perfectly, or sort of like if we actually come up with the wrong chants. Yes, and then even after that, even after all that, then like it is our fault that like we are angry and that like there is like no progress being made. So I ask again, what are the real options here? What are the real options? Because like you actually go to church and you try to build bridges that way, and then you get betrayed there. And then you go like actually like into like the criminal justice system. Yes, and you try to ask for equality there, and then you get shut down there. And then you also like actually try to do the same thing like in the educational system. Yes, and you see the same issues. The same issues. So, I mean, yes, and then that like that is why like it has been a real struggle for me in order to like actually teach that class that I was teaching about empathy. Because like even during all of this, even during all of this, like I tried to stay focused on not becoming bitter, on still, even now, at least like actually trying to find a way in order to like actually get us through this together. But I am telling you that it is actually getting more difficult by the day. It's getting more difficult by the day. Yes, and so like for me, like what, yes, and so like for me, like why that scares me, frankly, like is because like I know that it takes a long time for somebody like me to get angry. It does. Yes, it's just my personality. It actually takes a long time in order for me to get angry. And yet, right now, like, yes, like I sort of actually cannot not be angry. And so if I am feeling that, if somebody like me is feeling that, then I know that there are a lot of other folks like who are sort of like actually feeling the same way. And this time, I am not in a mood like of like actually just trying to tell them to not be angry. I'm not. I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. I mean, yes, like, and because I'm like, what has that gotten us, right? Yes, like, and also sort of like what also happened after sort of like 2015, like our that governor here, like our that former governor, Nikki Haley, yes, and then that she actually bragged about how like there sort of actually weren't any protests or any riots like after the roof massacre. Bragged about it. Yes, it said, see that it was peaceful. It was peaceful. And we had hugs and it was calm. But tell me, please, at what point like are we going to say that that is not good enough? That peace without justice is no good, that it is bankrupt. It is bankrupt. And so like while like I sort of actually yes, in terms of that, I sort of actually yes, in terms of like actually don't call for a riot in this book. Except one in which that like our anger is expressed relentlessly until there is real change. Yes, and that like I'm not talking about looting, like I'm not talking about at least like actually marching in the streets with all kinds of stuff, but like I think that we are at the point where that like we sort of actually sort of actually cannot afford like actually just to rush back to comfort. We can't. We can't. Yes, I mean, just in terms of that, like Lee sort of actually like during a time like this, that like it is like much better for us to be radically honest. Radically honest. Like even if it offends people, even if it pisses other people off, and even if it kind of like, and even if it makes them not like us, fine. Yeah, it's like, and because like we simply cannot afford to continue down this same road. We can't. We are tired of it. We are exhausted by it. exhausted. Yes, like, and because that, this is not an issue that I want to be, at least like actually that I focused on. I don't. Yes, but like I know that somebody has to, somebody has to be clear about this. Right here and right now. Yes, and then so lastly, like on this point, at least like in terms of like my struggle, like in order to like actually hold on, actually, at least like actually to the best part of who I am. And that part of that like actually started like actually when I finally left that church. And this is why, frankly, I like finally left that church. Like even though that I was struggling there for a long time. Yes, and I stayed there for a long time. It actually was because my sort of like wife noticed that I had started to hate people there. Yes, that I had started to hate people there. And so like, yes, and then that like my wife, she actually knew that that was not who I am at my core. And then she said, hey, okay, this is too much. This is too much. This is too much. And so like in a very real sense that I am still sort of actually struggling, like actually with sort of like what to do with my neighbors and friends, yes, like and sort of actually with their Trump fan, they're sort of just in terms of like they're sort of like Trump flags, like on their front porches and their backyards and on their trucks, et cetera, like all around me. Yes, and then so like what I frankly like actually have not figured out yet is what I am supposed to do with those kinds of relationships. Yes, like, and for me, like that is a big deal. And because like I sort of like actually never ever imagined that I would be here, like in a place like that, at least like actually grappling with something like that, simply because I have always been the one to reach out, like, and to actually be like uncomfortable, and like if sort of like that is what it took in order to bring us back together. But right now, I am no longer there. I am no longer there. And it pains me to say that, honestly. It does. But let me ask you, but like I sort of simply like cannot in a time like this lie anymore. Like I cannot just simply be silent or rushing for comfort or for peace when I know that like if we stop too soon, like if we stop screaming right now, then that our chances at real progress, at real breakthroughs will go away. And so like for me, right now, my fight like is like isn't to stop being angry. Yes, but like it is just to make sure that I don't let that anger make me bitter or feel helpless. And that is a real struggle. And I wish it wasn't, but it is. And I will leave that right there. I'm like for I'm sort of at least for sort of like anybody with questions or comments, etc. So.
Thank you, Isaac. Those powerful words. I'm going to end the recording here so that we can kind of go into questions.